Hey guys, Sheri and Richerson from Experimental Homesteader Exotic Gardening, SheriandRicherson.com and biannualblog.com. Welcome to our daily vlog. So today with prices rising and there going to be a coming food shortage. At least that's what I expect is going to happen. I thought I would share some ideas with you about how to maybe stretch your food budget, maybe have a little bit less waste. I know that some of you already know some of these tips and tricks. Some of you may not, though. One thing that you can do, even with store-bought food, vegetables and fruits, if you don't know how to can or you don't have enough left to can, is you can dehydrate them. Yes, you do need some kind of oxygen absorber or airtight seal on the jar that you put them in, because they could draw moisture, especially if you live in a humid area. You could also use Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber if you wanted to do that instead of jars. Another option would be to dehydrate and freeze. And you might be thinking, why would I freeze dehydrated food? Well, one, you don't need an oxygen absorber in it if you do that. At least that's what I've found. I've never had a problem with frozen food gathering moisture and going bad. Another reason is if you've got room in your freezer and you need to fill it up with something, it's a space filler. And you can remove it when you add other items that, to help fill your freezer up, because a full freezer takes a lot less electricity. So let me give you some examples. Potatoes. If you buy a big bag of potatoes, but you know that they're going to go bad before you use them all up, you could do a lot of things with those potatoes to save them. You could can them if you know how to can, and if you want to go through that work, depending on, of course, how many potatoes you have and what your end goal is. You could turn them into hash browns, French fries, various different items, and you could freeze them. The other thing that you could do is turn them into those same items and dehydrate them. Now, potatoes do need blanched. If you don't blanch them, they're not going to taste good. They're going to be very, very starchy. So, I don't remember off the top of my head exactly how long they need to be blanched. But you basically, you cut them up and then you blanch them. And then you submerge them immediately into cold water so they don't cook. And then you can go ahead and dehydrate them. I like dehydrated potatoes, potato slices, because it's a great way to make an au gratin potato or a scalloped potato. You can buy powdered cheese. You can not only use the powdered cheese for your au gratin or scalloped potatoes, but you can also use it to make a homemade macaroni and cheese mix. Another thing that I like to do with the powdered cheese, when I buy the Kraft macaroni and cheese, I don't think it's as cheesy as it used to be. So I add a little bit of extra powdered cheese into the macaroni as I'm mixing everything up to make it a little bit more cheesier. There are so many uses for powdered cheese. But be pre-warned, it will cake if you don't save it right. It will get hard, it will cake, and you will end up with little chunks of powdered cheese in whatever you make. So be aware of that and don't do what I did and just leave it on your countertop and hope that it doesn't draw moisture, because it will. Another item that some people buy, well, two items. I'm going to put these two together. Carrots and celery. Have you ever bought carrots and celery and realized that you're not going to use it all up? Or, maybe you bought it for fresh eating and it's just not getting eaten. Those are two foods that are really good to dehydrate. You can use the little chunks of celery in soups and things, or you could powder the celery and use it as a seasoning once it's dehydrated. The same thing with carrots. Just throw those little slices of carrots in whatever it was that you was going to put carrots in. Or you could powder it and have a carrot powder that you could season with. These are great ways to use vegetables. If your family doesn't like vegetables, use them as seasoning. The same way with tomatoes. A lot of people don't think about this, but you can actually dehydrate tomato slices, and then you can powder them and use that as a seasoning. It's especially good in soups. I know some people that put tomato powder on their different meats when they use it. So kind of think about, what can I do with this? I like dehydrated cucumbers. Now, some people may not, but I slice them really thin, and I like to put sometimes dill, sometimes garlic, sometimes pepper, sometimes a combination for some seasoning, and dehydrate them and just eat those to snack on. Basically, any fruit or vegetable that you have that you're not going to eat up and it's going to go bad, you could look up the instructions. Like I said, I don't remember right off the top of my head what needs blanched. Some things need soaked in citric acid. You can use lemon juice instead of citric acid if you don't have citric acid or don't want to use citric acid. Lemon juice works just as well. And let me tell you, I go to the Dollar Tree a lot of times, or Big Lots, and pick up a cheap container of lemon juice. I just check and make sure that it is lemon juice and not, full of sugar and everything else. I want pure lemon juice. And I use that a lot. It's cheaper. It goes a long way. And it's a good item to have in your refrigerator because there's always something that can use lemon juice. It hasn't been too long ago that I learned you can put a little bit of lemon juice in chicken noodle soup, and it actually brings out the flavor and makes it taste really good. I mean, who knew, So, your fruits and your vegetables are great things to dehydrate and have in your cabinet. You could also make fruit leathers if you guys like those and you have fruit. There's nothing saying you can't mix different types of fruit. So if you have a few grapes, a few apples, maybe some cherries in there, but you don't have enough for, one type of fruit leather, you could put those all together and puree them up and pour them and just have a mixed fruit leather. Any kind of juice or anything like that you don't think you're going to use up right away, you could turn it into ice cubes and use those later on in a beverage, or thaw what you want and drink it. So milk and cream, I especially like to put cream in ice cube trays and freeze it, and then get it out, and you'll have the little ice cube of cream, and that's really great to throw into gravies and things. You just throw it in frozen. You can freeze milk. So if you see a good deal at the store on milk, go ahead and pick it up. I talk about how to freeze goat milk on experimentalhomesteader.com, but it's the same for cow's milk or sheep milk or whatever type of milk you have. It's the same. Another item, and this has to be a fresh item, so you have to get this from somebody that raises chickens, but you can freeze eggs. And you can also water glass the eggs. I've done both. Works great. Or you could turn those eggs into noodles. Now, that's something that you could do with store-bought eggs. If you see a deal on store-bought eggs and you want to make some homemade noodles, you could certainly do that, and those noodles would be good for 6 months in the freezer. I do dehydrate my noodles. I have a post on that on Experimental Homesteader too. I do dehydrate my noodles because, again, if I have to take them out of the freezer because I need that freezer room for meat or something that must be refrigerated, if they're dehydrated, they are shelf stable, not as long, but they can certainly take a little bit of time, at room temperature or even in the refrigerator, and they're not going to go bad the way they would if they were fresh raw noodles. So anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. Please subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments below. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.